Hi, good afternoon. This is Tracee Dunblazier with the Cover Chatcast. We are the Coalition of Visionary Resources, the trade organization for the mind, body, spirit industry. And today we have a very special guest, one of our members, Reverend Dr. Stephanie Redfeather. She is a divine feminine change agent and champion of empaths. She's also a multi-award winning author of the international bestseller, The Evolutionary Empath, and the Empath Activation Cards. Her passion is to help fellow sensitive souls break out of energetic jail and become co-creators of the new Earth consciousness. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome.
Hi, Tracee. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, can't believe it's been so many months already since we saw you last at the awards banquet.
I know. Time has flown by. So tell me about what you're in the middle of right now. What have you been working on?
Oh my goodness. What I am working on right now is actually my next book. And it is a book about the divine feminine, which I know there's a lot of books out there about the goddess, about different aspects of the divine feminine. Right. But one of the things that I think I bring that is unique to any work that I do is I provide the biggest picture context possible, right? So we can locate ourselves in terms of like our spirituality and the bigger picture of why we've incarnated on the planet at this time, all of those high level views, and then bringing it down to a practical level. Yes. So for example, just talking about, to understand the return of the goddess and what that means, all of this conversation about the return of the divine feminine. Well, first of all, we have to understand what are the masculine and feminine traits to begin with, right? And how do they show up physically in our lives? And how has the patriarchy influenced our view of these things? And what does unhealthy masculine look like, and unhealthy feminine look like, and just all of these very practical things. And so I have the goddess has initiated me into this next work, and it has been an initiation for sure.
Now you have a very interesting background. Tell us a little bit about your very wide birth background of life experience.
Yes. So I was a very creative, intuitive child. When I was young, I went to a creative and performing arts school. For those who remember the TV show Fame, I went to a school like that, right? So I go to math class, and then I go to dance class and theater class and history class. And I was in a dance company with the city. So I performed musicals and singing competitions and writing competitions and all this kind of stuff. And then fast forward a few years, and I get a degree in applied mathematics from an engineering school and become an Air Force officer. So there's very much one of these things is not like the other.
Yes, exactly.
And so, the short version of what happened in the interim is my parents got divorced. I moved in with my dad and stepmom. My stepmom was, very emotionally and mentally abusive. My dad was kind of let her do the parental stuff, and so there's just all of these influences where my feminine started feeling very unsafe in the world, and my masculine, to the best of his ability, came in and said, I'll save you, and put her in a box and put her away for safekeeping. So so after 10 years as an Air Force officer, I decided it was time to get out. Started my own financial planning business, which is what I thought I'd do for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Quit in less than 6 months because I hated it. Lost about $25,000 because I didn't stay in long enough to recoup it. And that was the beginning of my spiritual awakening.
Yes. I really love your story for many reasons, but I think that we are living, the war consciousness is so powerful right now. Every day, people hear about it, people are participating in it, but we're all having to deal with it. And so many people who participate, I'll call it the war consciousness, the warrior consciousness, but it's not just warriorism, you know what I mean? But so many people participate in that. And when they're in it, it's a framework, it's a frame of mind that they're unable to transition into a new framework living that is freer and more creative and more opportunity to be those things. And so to have made that transition from being an officer to having your own business in the mind body spirit marketplace, I think is miraculous and rare.
Thank you.
I say miraculous, not that it can't be done, but you have to have a real connected sense of yourself and your willingness to not give in to only one side of yourself. And I think that's something that we all at any given time we deal with, especially in regards to entrepreneurial businesses and small businesses. And so I think that's really powerful. And I like the fact that you are so front and center with that about yourself.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about our talk this morning, and it just really occurred to me, like, that's one aspect that we don't ever see that publicized.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We don't ever see people who can move from one structure to basically no structure, if you will. You know what I mean? There's, of course, you have structure that you've added for yourself, but this whole incredible spiritual freedom that happens when you awaken,
mm-hmm.
and then how you implement that in your daily life.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, the part that didn't get spoken to was the 5 years in the spiritual crucible, as I call it, you know, where I was getting stripped, right, and just cooked down into a new substance, and I was getting drug kicking and screaming into my spiritual awakening. So I have 4 planets in Scorpio, so I have a lot of will, right, a lot of by God and know resistance. And so, you know, in a way, that shamanic initiation of psychic death is what I was going through, but I had no tools, had no idea what it was, no framework for it. And so it was a 5-year period that I have described as living 100 years, because so much happened for me to get to the other side.
Yes. I love that. And I hope that will be a part of many. I'm sure you include it in some of your works, but I think that should be a work right there, that 5 years. If you want my opinion.
Yes, this is what the ugly part looks like, to, you know, there's the life I was before, and then this, you know, what looks like, oh, so successful and this and happy, and you made the transition. And what, you know, what I think is important actually for spiritual communities to understand is those periods of time where we are just cussing at God, right? And throwing shoes across the room, and you know, crying and wailing on the floor, and just the ugly, messy part of figuring this out.
Absolutely. And I think the interesting thing, well, I don't know if this is just the interesting thing, but I think a lot of people don't. For me, everyone will go through a dark night of the soul when you are making that level of transition, which is part of the reason why people don't make that level of transition. You know what I mean? But I think we need to find a place to, forgive me for using this euphemism, but normalize it. You know, to feel that depth does not mean that there's something wrong with you. It is a gateway of new opportunity if you will hold on and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You know?
And honestly, that's what compelled me to stand up my business, because when I stumbled out of the crucible, and I was sort of like, okay, I'm, you know, the world's still here, I'm still here, you know, like trying to get myself oriented, I realized that I had gained some nuggets of wisdom, and that I had some understanding, and I had languaging. And so, you know, in 2007, I started my business, because I felt like if I could make somebody's time in the crucible shorter, less painful, if I could help them understand what's going on at a subtle energetic level, if I could give them tools and coping mechanisms, that's what my heart led me to do. And that is what I am still doing.
Absolutely. And so at what point did you say, I want to make this my career?
Yeah, I don't know if I have an exact year I can point to, because I think like so many of us, we do it part-time, right? It's a side hustle, so for quite a number of years, I either had some version of a full-time job or a part-time job while I was
Okay.
doing this sort of thing on the side.
Right.
But for the last, I would say, gosh, you're gonna make me do math. I don't know, 8 years. I'm just gonna take a stab. Maybe the last 8 years or so.
Yeah.
I have been doing solely this.
Uh-huh. And how do you feel doing it as a business? Tell me because that's another thing that we don't talk about. Entrepreneurs, like we do what we do because we love it. But making that transition into making money for it and getting used to getting paid for it or pricing it, or there's all different elements to
Right.
how you create a business model doing what you do.
Yeah. I think the individual struggles are different for each person. I feel like, I'm already good at systems and structures. I have the skills to be a great project manager. And so, organizing my day, managing my schedule, figuring those things out, that stuff wasn't so difficult for me. There were just things I need to learn, right? I needed to learn marketing. I needed to learn, how to get in front of people, the different options and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But, it is still an evolving process for me to, there's still, pardon my French, I still try to masculine the shit out of it sometimes, and I'm still working with this. How, what is the feminine way of manifesting? What is how do I keep striking that balance between the masculine and feminine energies in my business? And it is an ever evolving process for me.
Yeah, no doubt. So tell me a little bit about Blue Star Temple. That's your organization. So tell me a little bit about how it's organized.
Yeah. So that's not the name I started out with, but that's a name that came to me about 5 or so years ago, because I knew I had outgrown the energetic container of my previous name, the name of my business, previous work. And so I just want to give props to my home planet of Sirius. I have a strong connection to my star ancestry. And so Blue Star Temple, first and foremost, represents that connection to the blue star. But woven in with that is also Venus and my work with the divine feminine as a blue star, and Earth as where we live, the 3D, the embodiment piece, as a blue star. So all of that's woven in.
Okay.
So within the construct of my business, I have several legs. So I have the coaching, right, the one-on-one work that I do with people. And then I have a wide variety of workshops and programs that I offer online, in person, individual days, multi-month mystery schools.
Right.
And then the third leg is what I lump together as my products. And so, I have the books that you mentioned. So I've got the Evolutionary Empath, Empath activation cards. And then I'm also a contributing author to 4 other multi-author books, including the latest one called Shamanism, which just launched yesterday.
Oh, wonderful.
But then on my website, I also have a variety of, downloadable workbooks, meditations, home study courses, so a lot of different products and tools for people to work with.
Right. And I'm sure you guys are seeing the crawler below, but it gives her website right here. So you can copy it. I've got it. If you miss it the first time, it'll be back 10 more times. So make sure to go to bluestartemple.org to see more about Stephanie.
Yeah.
So tell me, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Is this an interview? And I
I
was
know, exactly. That's what I was like,
the
oh,
corporate position. That is to be perfectly honest, this has been a big year of transition for me for several reasons. One, we moved physical
right.
locations. Two, I have started active perimenopause. So my body is going through changes, so that's its own kind of initiation.
Yes.
But it's no surprise that on kind of the eve, if you will, of writing this book about the divine feminine, I am going through my own sort of next level initiation of the divine feminine.
Mhm.
And one of the things that is up for me is a whole, basically taking all of my dreams, everything that I've envisioned, everything I thought that I wanted, and just turning it on its head. Like a deeper investigation of, were those really my dreams in the first place? Or were those
Right.
the dreams that I took on because that's what I thought I should do to be successful, or what I thought somebody would expect of me, right? So where I see myself in 5 years, and in terms of like some big goal, my honest answer is I don't know. What I can tune into more authentically is the feeling that I want to have.
Mhm.
And I want to be in a place of being in more alignment with who I am.
Mhm.
I'm recognizing that my system will not tolerate the pace nor the intensity with which I used to do life. And so there is an ease that I'm praying for, right? That I'm visioning, and a grace, and a you know, asking myself the question, what fulfills me? What
Mhm.
makes me content? And I
Yes.
really think it's going to be a lot more about what I'm taking away as opposed to what I'm adding.
Right. I really like that because I think that, of course, we're the mind, body, spirit industry and marketplace, but even so, it's easy to get stuck or focused on business and not use those things that we teach to manifest. And so I really like you putting the focus on, I'm feeling my way into how do I want to feel? How do I want to wake up and see, how do I want to wake up and see myself at that time? How do I want to feel about myself and my life, and just energetically being at peace? Because I think that is where we start with anything. And oftentimes we don't know where it began, which is why we end up in pain. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know at what point we started that process of eventually divining that pain. And so I love that. I love that is a bona fide part of the process,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think that people need to hear that. That you may not know where you're going to be, but you certainly know where you're at and what you want to feel. And the more you feel that every day, the more it's going to present to you the other things that are in resonance with that.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, what underlies that too is, how can I best serve?
Mhm.
And then there's what my ego thinks about that, right? So there's always that, where it's like, this is what's coming through, and then you're like, ah, ah, and then there's your reaction to what's coming through.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Those are all the ups and downs of the process of manifestation for sure. Well, I am very excited. Thank you so much for talking to me and us today. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you a little bit, a little more about your business, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening for you over the next 6 months to the next 5 years to infinity and beyond. Exactly. So Debbie said hello. Debbie Krovitz signed in, and she's been watching us today. So I just want to do a little shout out to Debbie. Yes. And oh, you've got a special coupon for
I
our watchers today, our viewers, watchers. Woo.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So for the next week, I have a 10% discount on my Empath books. So this is my, well, let me start in chronological order. So the Evolutionary Empath came out close to 3 years ago. That can't be right. 3 years ago already. My goodness. It won a gold cover award. It's an international bestseller. It's been published in several languages. There's an audiobook that's available. And then this came out almost a year ago. And this is Empath activation cards. And so not only did I write the messages, but I painted the art as well. And so the deck itself won a cover award, and the piece of art that I submitted, which is actually this piece of art here, it's the one that's on the back of every card, that won an award as well. So if you go to my website and go to the tab up at the top that says shop, and you navigate to my books and put in cover, COVR, and you'll get your 10% off.
Fantastic. COVR, everybody, at bluestartemple.org /shop. So thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure, and I will look forward to everything else that's going to be coming from you. And for all of our viewers today, thank you for joining us on the Cover Chatcast. This is Tracee Dunblazier on behalf of the Coalition of Visionary Resources. Thank you. Have a super week.